One wrong move and this Israeli F-15 goes down, and the only thing stopping that from happening is this at 0213 hours. Local time, two pairs of F-15 IROM multi-role fighters take off from Houthi Airbase in southern Israel, blacked out and under total radio silence, skimming at 150 feet above the Red Sea. The formation drops into a radar shadow zone just west of island, masking their departure under natural topography and known surveillance gaps. 5 minutes in, they bank westward just north of Terran Island and push south along Egypt's eastern coast. Inside the cockpits, oxygen feeds kick in as the aircraft push into low-pressure altitude zones. Every system not critical to flight or counter-detection remains powered down as they make their way into the Red Sea. The lead pilot keeps his eyes locked ahead, but his dash helmet projects terrain features data, link markers, and radar convergence zones directly onto the visor. He doesn't glance down once at 0227 hours, 270 kilometers south of Sharm el-Sheikh. The lead pilot double taps his throttle. The pair behind him close the formation as all four aircraft drop to just 200 feet to stay below. A suspected Sudanese early warning radar lies ahead. The flight plans to hold this ultra-low altitude for the next 420 kilometers. The only sign of their presence is the white spray kicked up by their engines as they race southward. To the untrained eye, the F-15I resembles a typical Strike Eagle, but its weapons, sensors, and avionics are uniquely Israeli, and soon every upgrade will be pushed to its limits. The F-15 IRAM is Israel's long-range strike variant of the F-15, fine-tuned for deep strike missions with minimal support. Its most notable external feature, conformal fuel tanks hugging the fuselage. These tanks add 4,500 pounds of fuel without increasing radar visibility or drag like traditional drop tanks. Inside the cockpit, the pilot wears the Elbit 4 helmet-mounted display, projecting threat data, terrain overlays, and target tracking directly onto the visor, refreshed every 40 milliseconds. In low-level flights like this, there's no time to glance down. This helmet is critical. Combined with the fuel tanks, it allows the RAM to fly 420 kilometers at nap-of-Earth altitudes without external tanks or early refueling, which would raise the risk of detection and compress the strike window. Terrain-following systems reduce pilot workload during this exposed segment of flight, but terrain masking only works if timing is flawless. The next critical step in the chain hovers 24,000 feet above them. At 2:39, having covered 470 kilometers, the RAM formation begins a shallow climb above international waters south of Port Sudan. They've hit the edge of their safe corridor. Beyond lies Yemeni airspace, guarded by Iranian-supplied radars and SAM systems. The four jets split into pairs, each bracketing the rendezvous point from opposite angles, a precaution in case of ambush or system failure. At 0243, the first KC-707 Ream tanker appears on radar, holding steady at 24,000 feet inside a box designated Syrup 6. The boom operator expects a four-ship group but will only establish comms if absolutely required. Time to refuel. The lead RAM rocks its wings to signal intent, then slides up beneath the tanker's belly. The boom, already deployed, steadies using active control fins. A quick adjustment and the boom locks into the refueling port with a metallic click. Each RAM tops off in under 3 minutes, taking in enough fuel for a 1,600-kilometer strike radius with full payload. Below, the Red Sea remains still, but across the water, radars are beginning to stir. The KC-707 Ream, based on the Boeing 707, is Israel's primary strategic tanker, refitted with the domestic systems. Its high-flow boom refuels fast jets like the F-15I in under 3 minutes, transferring up to 2,500 gallons per pass. The boom stabilizers keep it steady in turbulence, while Israeli-built avionics handle secure mission coordination and fuel management. Data links on the dorsal fuselage provide real-time updates. Despite its age, the Ream remains vital, especially when forward basing is off the table politically or tactically. Without this top-off, the RAMs would have needed risky basing or reduced payloads. But where they're headed, they need every bomb on board. At 2:53, 220 kilometers from Yemen's coast, the ROMs detect an electronic spike on the radar warning receiver. It starts with brief pulses, then sustained sweeps. There's no doubt enemy radars are powering up. The system IDs it as a Soviet spoon rest radar delivered by Iran and operated by Houthi crews. The RAMs hold course but drop 1,000 feet to regain cover. 10 seconds later, a second radar comes online, sweeping wider. It's likely a P-19 or YC-6M, suggesting a linked multi-node air defense system over Sana'a. Confirmation. They're in the right place. Inside the cockpit, the pilot reaches left, rotating a switch to activate the EL/L8222 jamming pod on the centerline pylon. It comes alive, broadcasting bursts across multiple radar frequencies. From the ground, enemy operators see nothing, no track, no blip, just a hazy distortion. 3 seconds later, the second RAM brings its pod online. The paired jammers sync via data link, creating staggered pulses that scramble range, bearing, and altitude. Even if the Houthis shoot, they'll be firing at phantoms. At 3:01, a third radar, probably a fire control unit, briefly acquires and loses them. No full lock, but enough to raise heart rates. Fortunately, the jammers are doing their job. The EL/L8222 is Israel's premier airborne jamming pod, built to deceive and suppress radars without exposing the host jet. Installed on the centerline or wing pylons, it detects emissions in real time and rebroadcasts tailored counter signals. Instead of spraying noise, it records, shifts, and rebroadcasts radar pulses to confuse targeting computers. It can spoof up to 16 threats simultaneously across various bands. Its integration with the mission computer allows it to execute complex jamming routines automatically, crucial for what comes next. At 3:06, the RAMs clear a ridge 18 kilometers northwest of Sana'a. From here on, terrain masking is impossible. They're exposed. Throttles push to 480 knots. Altitude holds at 2,000 feet. Every pilot hopes there's no one below with a man-pads. As they close in, Sana'a's silhouette emerges. Inside the helmet, the HUD overlays target imagery from satellite passes just 12 hours ago. It confirmed 6 Shahed 136 drone transporters, 4 radar trucks, and a suspected command post, all inside Sana'a International Airport. Not for long. The lead pilot steadies his breathing. The aircraft vibrates from speed, but targeting systems compensate. Every ROM carries 4 Rampage missiles on reinforced pylons. Sleek, sharp profiles flicker at the HUD's edge. In the rear seat, weapons officers punch in the preloaded GPS coordinates. No changes needed. Rampages use encrypted inertial backups for redundancy. At 3:07, 20 kilometers from the target, the lead pilot calls it weapons free. A beat later, his first Rampage streaks off the rail, followed by 7 more. Each missile drops, ignites, then accelerates forward, arcing slightly northeast toward its assigned target. 6 seconds. 8 missiles, all fired. They race ahead at Mach 1.5. All will hit simultaneously. The jets hold course another 28 seconds even as radars begin locking on from 3 separate directions. At 3:08, the first missile hits a fuel depot. 3 seconds later, a hangar erupts, then the drone storage, and finally the command center. Secondary blasts ripple across the tarmac. The pilots bank hard south. RWRs scream with lock alerts. The Rampage is a precision air-to-ground missile designed for long-range strikes from non-stealth aircraft. Developed by Israel Aerospace Industries, it relies on speed and stealthy flight paths to penetrate defenses. About 4.7 meters long and launched from standard pylons, it flies at Mach 1.5 with a 145-kilometer range. It lacks a terminal seeker using pre-programmed coordinates to hit hardened structures, fuel tanks, bunkers, command sites. Its speed and passive profile gave defenders 0 time to react. Had the missiles been slower or broadcast targeting signals, air defenses would have engaged and likely downed a jet. But the Houthis aren't done. After the first strike, the jets split in opposite directions for a second pass. More targets line up in their HUDs. This time it's a free-for-all. No one wants to return with ordnance still on board. At 3:10, the airport lies in ruins. The jets begin a steep climb. 60 degrees nose up, throttles at full afterburner. As they punch through 12,000 feet, warning tones blare. SA-6 acquisition radars have locked on. "Missile launch bearing 278, shouts the trailing pilot. Two SA-6 Gainfuls rise from Al-Dailami airbase. Their fiery trails are visible even from afar. The ROMs dump chaff and execute a defensive split, breaking formation to complicate tracking. No diving now. The only exit is vertical. The lead pilot's face is damp under the mask. Throttle to afterburner. His seat presses into his back from the surge. His display shows two inbound missiles, 32 kilometers out, closing at Mach 2.5. They've got 39 seconds to hit. The ROMs need 38 seconds to hit the SA-6's max ceiling. At 3:15, they cross the coastline. But the missiles still chase. Nearing their range limits and without stable radar locks, they begin to stray. The Houthi operators feed them ghost targets from earlier. At the last second, both missiles veer north, detonating harmlessly behind the formation. All jets survive, but their flight suits might not. As the last echoes of missile trails vanish into the night sky and the rams streak homeward, one truth becomes undeniable. The modern battlefield is no longer defined by brute force alone, but by precision, speed, and innovation. From terrain-hugging stealth tactics to next-gen electronic warfare and hypersonic strikes, this mission was more than just an attack. It was a demonstration of the future of warfare unfolding in real time. And this is just the beginning. If you were captivated by the raw intensity, the cutting-edge technology, and the sheer audacity of this operation, then you're in the right place. Next-Gen Tech brings you closer to the most advanced military systems and real-world missions shaping global conflict today. From stealth bombers and autonomous drones to strategic airstrikes and satellite warfare, we decode it all. So if you haven't already, smash that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. Drop a comment below. Tell us what mission, aircraft, or weapon system you want us to cover next. Because here at Next Gen Tech, the war zone isn't just a battlefield, it's a front row seat to the future. Until next time, stay sharp, stay informed, and stay locked on target.